Right now, somewhere in your day, you are going to feel it. That itch behind your eyes when a meeting drags. That reflex to grab your phone the second a line goes quiet. That restless, empty feeling when there is nothing to do and nowhere to be. You call it boredom. You treat it like a malfunction. Something to kill, scroll away, snack away, binge away. But the real answer is far stranger. Boredom is not a glitch in your brain. It is one of the oldest, most carefully engineered alarm systems your species has ever built. And the reason it feels so unbearable is exactly why it worked. Think about that for a second. An emotion that feels like nothing is actually doing something. What kind of something could feel like nothing at all? To understand it, you have to go back, not centuries, hundreds of thousands of years. Long before phones, before books, before fire was reliable, your ancestors spent enormous stretches of time doing almost nothing at all, walking, waiting, watching a horizon that refused to change. And in that stillness, something in their minds started to hum. Psychologist John Eastwood, who has spent much of his career at York University studying this exact feeling, describes boredom as the mental state you get when your mind wants to be engaged, but cannot find anything that satisfies it. Not simply having nothing to do, wanting something to do, and failing to find it. That distinction matters more than it sounds like it should. A rock does not get bored. A rock has no unmet desire. But a human mind, even hundreds of thousands of years ago, was already built to crave stimulation. It wanted patterns. It wanted problems. It wanted something to chew on. So when the environment went quiet, the mind did not go quiet with it. It turned restless. That restlessness was not a design flaw. It was a nudge, a physiological tap on the shoulder that said, in effect, stop sitting still, go look around, go find something. Because on the savannah, sitting still for too long was not peaceful. It was dangerous. An ancestor who could tolerate long stretches of understimulation without discomfort might not notice the change in wind direction, might not notice the silence where birdsong used to be, might not notice the predator closing the distance while the mind drifted, unbothered, into nothing. Boredom, in other words, kept your ancestors alert. It kept them moving, exploring, foraging, checking, scanning. It is the emotional equivalent of a low battery warning, not painful enough to be an emergency, just uncomfortable enough that you cannot ignore it. Discomfort with stillness is not weakness. It is instinct doing exactly what it was built to do. Here is where it gets stranger. In 2014, a team of researchers led by psychologist Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia ran an experiment that has become one of the most cited studies on this feeling. They asked participants to simply sit alone in a room for around 15 minutes. No phone, no book, no task, just their own thoughts. Many participants described the experience as unpleasant. Then the researchers raised the stakes. They gave participants access to a device that could deliver a mild electric shock and told them they could use it on themselves if they wanted to. Simply as an option. Nothing required. A striking number of people chose to shock themselves rather than sit quietly with nothing to think about. Some did it more than once. Read that again. Adult human beings, given a choice between discomfort and boredom, chose the discomfort. Why would a mind do that? Because boredom is not actually about having nothing to do. It is about having nothing to engage the parts of your brain that evolved to be engaged constantly. Your ancestors' minds were built for a world saturated with sensory information, tracking prey, reading terrain, monitoring social dynamics within the group. Stillness, real stillness, was almost never the natural state. So when modern life hands you 5 minutes with nothing happening, an ancient part of your brain interprets that emptiness as almost intolerable. Not because you are weak-willed, because you are running six-figure-year-old software in a world that finally, for the first time in history, offers actual silence. And this is where the twist deepens. Psychologist Sandy Mann, who has researched boredom extensively at the University of Central Lancashire, found something that seems to contradict everything you might expect. In her studies, boredom did not just make people uncomfortable, it made them more creative. In one experiment, participants who completed a deliberately dull task, like copying numbers out of a phone book, went on to generate more original ideas afterward than participants who had not been bored at all. Boredom, it turns out, pushes the mind to wander, and a wandering mind does not stay empty for long. It starts generating, connecting things that were not connected before, solving problems it was not consciously asked to solve. This is the part almost nobody expects. The discomfort of boredom might be the exact mechanism that made your species so relentlessly inventive. Consider what unstructured time actually forces a mind to do. With nothing external to occupy it, the brain does not simply shut off. It turns inward. It starts running simulations. What if I tried this instead? What if that tool worked differently? What if I moved to where the water might be, rather than waiting here? Boredom, across evolutionary time, may have been one of the quiet engines behind tool use, migration, storytelling, and eventually, art. Your ancestors did not invent language because they were fascinated. They likely invented much of it because they were restless, and restlessness demanded release. Now look at your own life. You almost never sit in true silence. The moment a queue goes quiet, a phone appears. The moment a commute has no podcast, music fills the gap. The moment there is nothing to watch, something gets put on anyway. You are, in effect, sedating an alarm system that took hundreds of thousands of years to build. And that alarm was never meant to be silenced instantly. It was meant to be answered, not numbed with a scroll, but resolved with a walk, a new idea, a conversation, a solved problem, a created thing. When you reach for a screen the second boredom appears, you are not defeating the discomfort. You are interrupting the exact process that discomfort was designed to trigger. Here is the strange part almost nobody talks about. Some researchers now suspect that a culture with almost zero tolerance for boredom might be quietly starving itself of the very creativity that boredom is built to produce. Not because stimulation is bad, but because constant stimulation never lets the itch build long enough to demand a real answer. So the next time that restless, itchy, empty feeling creeps in, during a meeting, in a waiting room, in the 10 seconds before a video loads, consider not reaching for anything at all. Consider sitting inside it. Not because discomfort feels good. It does not. It was never supposed to. But because that discomfort is not a flaw in you. It is one of the oldest instructions your mind has ever carried. Get up. Look around. Find something. Make something. Right now, somewhere in your day, you are going to feel it again. And this time, you might recognize it for what it actually is, not a malfunction to escape, but an invitation, hundreds of thousands of years old, quietly asking you to build something out of the silence.